All right, good morning, friends and family and brothers and sisters all over the world. Ryan here again, and we're doing the AFTERVERSE talk about prayer, and it's called AFTERVERSE because it's the follow up to the Bible study where we go through all the verses and scriptures about prayer, and we fairly extensively went through the Old Testament and New Testament, and took a look at the evolution of prayer from both the standpoint that it used to be very uh, kind of had a whole set pattern to it and set ideas and whatnot. And by the time we got to the New Testament, uh, Jesus took the idea of God and instead of it the idea of God being some being separate from us on some other plane and other realm, and he brought the idea of God into our lives as our Father, right? Um, as a parent, as where we are a member of that family, and made it and evolved the whole concept of prayer from that standpoint. And the Lord's Prayer is the example. Um, for those who, you know, are just looking at some of these kind of things, like, what's prayer all about, or maybe have some interest in seeking a spiritual life, I highly recommend that you talk to your friends and your fellows about these things always, because a lot of us pray and a lot of us depend on prayer. It's not, we don't look like we do. It's like the people who look like they pray are probably trying to look like they pray so that you'll notice they must be spiritual or religious or whatnot. Um, but there are a great many people on this planet that rely on prayer and meditation to build a relationship to God, to a higher power, to some people see it as their higher self, some people see it as the universe, um, some people see it as the spirit realm or a level of existence beyond ours. Wherever we begin is okay, because the whole point is to begin, right? And to gain some experience connecting to that part of ourselves that is connected to the realm of the spirit. I am I'm a person who relies heavily on prayer. It completely changes my day on a day-to-day basis. I wake up in the mornings and I'm crabby, I'm upset, I'm thinking about myself, I'm thinking about why things hurt, I'm thinking about how am I going to get through the day. I'm flooded with fear right out of the gate, right? I'm flooded with the concerns of the world, right? It's too hot in here, it's too cold in here, what are we going to have for breakfast? Are we going to eat? Do we even have anything to eat? Whatever the case may be. And I'm kind of stuck in my head. And what prayer does is it allows me to connect to something greater than myself, a concept, an idea, a relationship, a power, a force greater than me that helps redirect me almost immediately. Um, and what I do, being a disciple of Christ, which the word disciple just means student in its simplest terms, um, being a student of Christ, that's one of the things that we're basically asked to do: deny ourselves, pick up our cross daily, right, and follow uh, His principles, His way of life, His teachings. Uh, Follow what He gave us, and the denial of self is the recognition of the limitations of myself and how it has failed me. How my best intentions, my best thinking, my best reasoning created so much failure within my life, even though I didn't intend it to, right? And what prayer has done is it redirects me almost immediately into a place where instead of being so concerned with self, I start becoming aware of the world around me and the people around me from a standpoint of compassion and understanding and service. And instead I start thinking, hey, I wonder how my wife's doing. Wonder how my friend's doing. Um, I pray for other people. I think about other people, right? Uh, I feel empowered and not so afraid. Like the fear goes away. And it's still there. I still have the knowledge that, hey, we got some issues we got to get through today and stuff like that. But I'm not being emotionally driven by that, right? Um, the benefits of prayer are outstanding. And for anybody who's just starting out, or anyone who has been actively doing prayer, there's always an evolution that can happen with it. And for me, the evolution was developing a relationship with God in such a way that it wasn't limited anymore. I grew up in a religion that looked at prayer as, you have to be humbled and reverent, and you better be on your knees and hold your hands together this way. You don't hold your hands together that way. And you do this and you do, and it was fearful. It didn't generate a feeling of wanting to have a relationship with whoever I'm talking to. It generated a feeling that I am less than, and I am small, and I am stupid, and why would I even talk to something that does, that if I don't perform it right, I'm not qualified, right? Um, a great many of us, I think, have that kind of experience in one way or the other. And I understand that we are taught what prayer is, and how big God is compared to us, or um, the concept of God. And as children, we just listen to what we're told, right? Okay, well, this is how we do it, right? And I was also told that the ways other people pray are evil and satanic and wrong, and witchcraft and all this other kind of stuff. So I had all sorts of judgment, not only towards others but towards myself, about their faith and their relationship to God, where I had absolutely no authority or right to even have such an opinion, because I myself hadn't even developed a relationship with God. I was just repeating what I was told to do, and acting the way I was told to act, and behaving how I was supposed to behave, because that's what I believed I was supposed to do. So instead of having a fluid relationship that was one that I wanted and desired, it was fake, right? It wasn't until much later on in life, when I was in severe trouble, emotionally and mentally, that I truly reached out to God, honestly. There were times as a kid, there were times I prayed for others, very honestly, family members of people that I cared about were going through something. I would petition God to please help them, because I didn't know who else to talk to. But when it came to my own life, you know, prayer wasn't a part of it. So today, one of the things we learned by going through all the scripture and stuff like that is, it is notable that have been a lot of different variances in the manner and way in which people pray. And instead of looking at those negatively and saying, well, now we have evolved, so we don't need to do these kind of things. Instead, what we learn through Jesus is that we can embrace all things. Um, I I've known some people that they have this kind of ritual that they do, and it's how they connect to God, right? And in their culture, they place certain things out on a table, and they light a little fire, and they cover themselves in smoke and whatnot. And there's this whole beautiful ritual to it, and it's absolutely outstanding and wonderful to watch. There are other people who uh, they have a relationship with God through lighting of candles and getting on their knees and holding their hands a certain way. And there are other people that they feel comfortable praying, actually hiding in a closet, right, away from the world. They feel protected. Now, these things are not necessary to the realm of the spirit, but they are necessary to some of us to bring, on earth as it is in heaven, to make the connection. It helps. It helps the flesh be a part of the process. which is part of the discipline of the flesh, right? Which is the whole point to laws and rules and stuff like that anyway. So we learn that through doing certain things that our customs may like, right? There's some people who pray 3 times a day specifically, or a certain set of times a day specifically, on a mat, facing a certain way, right? And it enriches their culture because it disciplines their flesh. It reminds them of their. And so we can start when we set aside judgment about prayer itself. We can start to see how all these different rituals, no matter where they come from, uh, have their foundations in something beautiful. And that something beautiful is to develop a connection to God. And so now I can appreciate the vast many ways different cultures choose to pray, knowing that it is not necessary that it must be done that way, but that it is something that is shown out of respect, consideration, obedience, sometimes submission to God in their belief. And it is wonderful, right? Because you see the faith that they have from this, and you see how it enhances their life and keeps them on a path that they are trying to live by, and it works for them. The bottom line is, for me, what Christ opened up to us was that how we approach God, what matters is that it is in spirit and in truth, right? So when we pray, we are connecting to the realm of the spirit. And all that matters, what really truly matters, is our motive to the realm of the spirit. Because my motive is already known. My thoughts are already known. Nothing is hidden to God. Nothing is hidden to God. God is either everything or God is nothing. So therefore, I cannot have a thought outside of the awareness of God. I cannot have a motive outside the awareness of God. If I had a thought or an awareness outside, uh, or a thought or a motive outside the awareness of God, I'm greater than God. And that just isn't true. So the realm of the spirit is aware of everything. For my prayers to have essence and power, I must go to the realm of the spirit honestly, not hiding where I'm actually at, what my plea actually is. Like if inside myself I'm feeling oppressed and depressed and like God doesn't care and what's going on in the world, and then I get on my knees and I go, thank you, Lord, for this food I'm about to eat and stuff like that. But well, I'm lying. I'm lying to God. I'm not thankful. I'm upset, right? God knows I'm upset. God knows I'm upset with God. so, so what Christ revealed and opened up to us is that we can go to God upset. He went to God pleading, if this cup can pass from me, you know, give me the strength. Paul, David, in the Psalms, went to God upset a lot. And also went to God praising God a lot. The whole point and the reason why I think the Psalms have lasted for so many generations is all of it was authentic. I mean, the stuff that was put into it was about the authentic experience of humankind in trying to trust and rely on God to direct our lives and making the effort to pray in order to establish that fact. The stuff that is honest is what lasts and what is eternal. So it has become very important to me that there is no pretense in prayer, that I don't pray for that anyone see me pray, that I don't have any specific rule about how I pray. Sometimes my prayers are just, I don't know what to do. And other times my prayers are very reverent and on my knees, and yeah, and it is all dependent upon the reality and the truth of the moment. But what I desire most is to have an ongoing, continuous relationship with God, and in understanding that thoughts are things, they create an energy that we can actually measure in science, and so therefore known by God also. If a machine can know it, God can know it, because once again, nothing's outside of God, right? So um, I understand today that everything I think and every feeling I have is actually a prayer, because in every moment I am considering, uh, either, and my motives could be very selfish, right? Or they could be very natural and normal to human existence, or they could be very profoundly compassionate towards other people. But in any given moment, I'm having some kind of experience on that level within myself, right? I'm scared about this. I don't know what's going to happen. I really want, to have a home someday that we own. I'm worried about my friend who's going through some stuff in his family right now. These are all present in the realm of the spirit. These are prayers. Even though I haven't formally submitted to a tradition or a custom or a pattern, they are still known to God. Christ said that himself, that God knows what we need before we even ask for it. It's because we know what we need and we're already thinking about it, right? And God is aware of that. So prayer isn't something that we have to be afraid of, to do right, to do correctly, to do properly, but it is something where we can adopt traditions and customs and principles with which we enjoy and which fit our personal experience as a flesh human being on this earth, right? Um, and that is why nobody can really tell you how you should pray. Christ gave us a foundational prayer, the Lord's Prayer, right? Um, to exemplify some certain concepts and ideas, starting with our Father who art in heaven, right out of the gate. Dad, Dad, who's in the realm of the Spirit, which I am in, because nothing is outside God, so therefore I'm actually in the realm of the Spirit. I'm having a physical experience that allows me to experience what it's like to feel disconnected from the realm of the Spirit, but I can't actually be disconnected from the realm of the Spirit, because if I can be disconnected from God's realm, I am bigger than God. Then there's something outside of God. And if there's something outside of God, God isn't God. He may be a God, you know. And we've heard a lot about those, the demigods and stuff like that, and that are assigned certain things. But who Christ brought to us was the origin and the source of all things. He said, "My Father is a spirit," and he said, those who believe and are mine, right? They are in my hand, and I am in the hand of the Father, and nothing can be taken from the Father's hand. Now, that gives us the clue right then and there that there is no greater source of power. Matter of fact, God is the source of power. God is the source of life. God is the source of everything that exists. Everything that exists, because it's all within God. If it is outside of God, it isn't. Then God isn't God. God is either everything or nothing. So this is who I am connecting to. And that brings a great sense of hope. The more I try to make a connection to God and rely on that source of direction, wisdom, intellect, stability, the more I am becoming okay with the person that I myself am, regardless of what's going on in the world around me. I'm becoming more understanding of compassion, understanding of the needs of others. Judgment leaves me because I automatically gain the perspective of how little I truly know. And I don't have any right to judge another human being as whether they are worthy of something or not. And every single judgment I have, every single thought I have goes before God's throne. If I'm sitting there thinking, oh, this person, I'm actually saying that to God. I'm saying that to the realm of the spirit, which is aware of me. And so then I go to God and I say, oh, God, help me because some people use the words, I'm a sinner and I just can't stop. Well, why is he going to listen to that when I have condemned others for the very same thing and said they are unworthy? If I think someone else is unworthy of being free and prosperous for doing the same things that I myself am doing or struggling with, whether internally or externally. And why does the internal part matter too? Because it's something else Christ tried to reveal to us. Like when he talked about adultery, when he said, hey, if you desire a woman in your heart, you've already committed adultery. He wasn't trying to condemn people as adulterers. He was trying to point out there is nothing hidden from the realm of the spirit. And what your actual authentic self is what goes before God. So instead, we go, oh, wow, man, I'm just having a problem with lust inside me. I can go to God with this. God, help me with this lust. I don't want to be controlled by this. I don't want to have these kind of thoughts. I want to be a good man. I want to love my wife. I want to do this. I want to do that. Please help me, Father, with this, right? I need your guidance. And that part inside us that we have held on to ourselves because we enjoyed it and we enjoyed thinking about these things or we enjoyed whatever, we have now opened to be emptied so that God can live there. Because see, one thing about God is God's a gentleman. God does not enter into any area of my life I don't invite him. That's the whole point. He gave me the choice of life or death. And he gives me that choice in every scenario of my life and in every moment of my life. Not to punish or condemn or to judge or to praise, but because I'm God's son, I have the same right as God. God is everything, but has chosen life, even though he's death, even though he's hell. Like, the only reason why God can take the gates of hell and throw them in the lake of fire and end them forever is because they're his. And nothing is outside of God. Nothing is outside of God. Not even Lucifer, Satan, demon. Nothing is outside of God. It's all within the body of God. And God can get rid of whatever he wishes to, at whatever time he wishes to, however he wishes to, right? He can give what he wishes and he can take what he wishes. The realm of the spirit has no limitations whatsoever. So if my constant desire inside is just condemnation and judgment and wrath against other people, well, I'm going to get condemnation and judgment and wrath back because that's what I am putting out into this realm of the spirit as my prayer. It's my desire. I want to see that person punished. Well, therefore, that means I must want punishment, right? So it's okay for me to go to God. That's the whole point to having a relationship with God is because of our limitations, because of how little we know, because of how immature we are, because of how ruled by the flesh we are. Because the flesh does just want to, you hurt me, I'm going to automatically swing back, right? It's almost an automatic response. It's an animal response. But I have the choice on the inside. Do I want to be that way or not? And when I find out that I have such a hard time and struggling with controlling my flesh, which is why the laws and all the disciplines and everything else like that don't actually work or save anybody. Because the flesh will exert itself until the day it is buried in the grave, right? So if I want to have power to overcome that, I need spiritual power, because there's no physical power that allows me to control my own flesh. Another human being can throw me into a rubber room, right? And control my actions to the outside world, but they still can't control the desires of my flesh. It still won't control what I desire. So if I have that moment of awakening where I realize I don't want to be this person that I keep putting out in the world, I can go to God and say, these things are broken in me. They're defective in me. That I can't overcome them. I'm powerless over this thing. I'm powerless over drugs. I'm powerless over alcohol. I'm powerless over lust, greed. I'm powerless over fear. These are the things I'm afraid of, God. Please enter into me in this area. Teach me, guide me in the realm of the Spirit. And therein, depending upon basically the depth of my emotional well-being or emotional state, oftentimes dictates how it is I am approaching God. But since all my thoughts are things, all my feelings are known to heaven, I can just pray in my head without anyone even knowing I'm doing it, right? That's why it's like, oh, they ban prayer here and they ban prayer there. They can't ban prayer. You know, I'm praying right now as I'm talking to you. Nobody can, God knows my thoughts and my feelings about what I'm talking about as I'm talking to you about them. And I have a conscious awareness in the presence of God, because I can't be outside God. I can only have the experience of what it feels like to be outside of God, but I can't actually be outside of God. And I have that experience for the purpose of choosing, right? And I will choose once I realize what I'm doing isn't working. Imagine being thirsty, right? Extremely thirsty. And you don't know what fixes thirst. So you put sand in your mouth. Oh, it's not working. People keep telling me, just eat sand and your thirst will go away. And I put sand in my mouth. I'm still thirsty. And put more sand in my mouth. I'm thirsty. And someone comes along and says, here, try some water. And you try the water, right? And all of a sudden your thirst goes away. Well, you're going to continue to do that, aren't you? Right? And the more I pray, the more I am receiving the water. And my hunger and my thirst and my powerlessness and my obsessions and my fear goes away. But in another moment, I could be triggered by an event. I could be triggered by somebody upset. I could, if you want to use that word, I could have my attitude adjusted. And then once again, I have the choice. Am I going to respond like my flesh, which is dictating to me how to respond? You confront that person and tell them they can't talk to you that way. Or am I going to choose life and seek a greater understanding and a greater awareness that I cannot have on my own? And as soon as I go to God and say, I don't know what to do in this situation, this is what I want to do, but I know that that's the wrong thing. I don't actually want to do that, right? I know tomorrow I will regret it. God reveals to me then in that moment a wisdom and an understanding that is far beyond me. And there is nothing special about any of it except the desire is honest. And so therefore it is open to every single living human being on this planet. It doesn't mean our problems go away. It doesn't mean, I suddenly don't have to contend with an angry person at work who's just causing problems. It means I will intuitively have a greater understanding of how to negotiate and navigate that scenario that exists outside of me and somebody else, right? In their world that I'm aware of and I'm unfortunately surrounded by. God will give me the strength to get through that. There have been many times in my life where it was far beyond me to deal with what was going on emotionally during the loss of my parents, during the loss of my child. And it was prayer that got me to, day by day, communicate and talk about those kind of things with my friends and fellows and family in a way where it wasn't getting buried, it wasn't getting stuffed, it wasn't turning into a bitterness or an anger or a resentment. And once I saw that in some areas there was still lingering resentments, I was then able to bring that up and share those with myself and with another human being and with God and say, hey, look, I've seen this pattern going on. For some reason, I can't reconcile it anymore because I do talk to you every day. I don't understand. But the problem is now I'm beginning to resent you, right? And we got to ask ourselves, even those who don't believe in God or don't believe in prayer, when we're walking around our life going, why is this happening to me? Who are we talking to? We're the ones who don't know why it's happening to us. So we're not asking ourselves, who are we asking? Who are we trying to make responsible for that? Who do we believe has the answers? Now we can go to friends and why is this happening? I don't understand what's happening to me. So we still see that we need help other than ourselves. Because if we think we have all the answers, if you're the greatest power on earth, why does anyone else even exist, right? How many times have you wished you were the only person? Why are there people who have more than you? Right? Why are there people who have less than you? Why are there people who are not obeying every word you say? Right? So even if we don't believe in God, we got to ask ourselves, why? Who am I talking to when I say, why is this going on? And why is it we believe we're blessed and free if we have blessings in our life, right? Do we really think we did it ourselves? Because the blessings that we receive, the money we receive, the job we receive, they all existed before us. The bigger home we received, those things existed before us. We didn't make the bigger home. We didn't make the wood that made the bigger home. We didn't create electricity that makes the home work. We didn't build sand that turns into, that men turn in and women turn into concrete that sets the foundation. We didn't build the home. We received the home through the blessings of our life that was given to us. And likewise, when we go through troubles, we wonder why. So deep down inside all of us, I think, is a fundamental idea of God. And that's where our thoughts go when we don't understand something. The prayer can be, it's a cornerstone for change in our life. And it's okay to pray any way you need to pray, so long as it's honest. We can argue with God, we can yell at God, we can scream at God. God even said, you can curse me and it will be forgiven you. And I've seen that in real life. I've talked to my own parents, very upset, cursing, everything else like that, on the phone when they were alive. And they go, oh, son, you're having such a rough time. What's going on? What can I do to help you? Now, like I said, if a human being can have that level of compassion and understanding for what I'm going through, what greater can the realm of the spirit, which is aware of absolutely everything in every moment in everyone's lives, always. So I don't need to be afraid ever that I could offend God. What's offensive to God is falsehood. We worship God in spirit and in truth, because that which is a lie is in vain, and it's a waste of time. we're wasting our time, we're wasting time of everybody else, and we're wasting God's. We're wasting the time of the realm of the spirit. Yet God's aware of it. It's just there's nothing for him to answer because we're not being honest about our actual true motives and true desires. And that's what prayer opens up to us, is the ability to be ourselves and to be honest and be true before the throne of God without fear that we will be judged or condemned, because that which has been judged is the lies. Honesty has not been judged. Christ himself said it. My Father has never judged man. My Father has never judged man and had given all judgment to me. And what was he here to do? Save us. From what? Lies, deception, false idea that we have to perform in order to be accepted. We were accepted. We were accepted enough to him to save us from the lies and the deception that we have to perform a certain way in order to be righteous. I can't be righteous. I wake up a flesh animal that has its own wants and needs and everything else like that. I connect to righteousness, and then I can act and proceed forward with righteous acts of loving someone else. The love is the righteousness, not me. I get to enjoy it and feel the righteousness and be a part of that stream. Compassion is righteousness. It's perfect. I'm not the source of compassion. God is. So I can't qualify. And there's nothing to qualify for, because truth and mercy and justice and kindness and love and eternal life already exist. I just have to decide. And prayer helps establish the faith of that decision in every moment. We do not have to be afraid to talk to God whatsoever, however we understand God. We don't have to have a certain understanding or a certain conception or a certain idea or a certain anything else like that. Just the idea of something greater than us that can help us, that we trust, that we can believe in. And no one can tell you what you believe in, because you're the only one who believes or doesn't believe. No one can tell you what you should believe in, because you're the only one who can believe or doesn't believe. I happen to believe in Jesus Christ and God as my Father. It's a concept and an idea and a principle and a way of life that has opened all the doors for me. But I completely understand that we start where we start. I started without that. And I just started being thankful and grateful to whatever was keeping me alive. And eventually it developed into, I had greater choices and more conceptions to consider and more things to consider. And I made a conscious decision and an honest decision to be a disciple of Christ. And that's all God wants from us, is the truth. He didn't condemn me all that time beforehand that I wasn't proclaiming Christ. I was being led there. Just like we don't plant a tree and expect fruit the next day. Neither does God. So wherever we are in our journey of developing a relationship with God through prayer is absolutely acceptable, because it's where you are today. Maybe you were just planted. Maybe you've just sprouted. Maybe you're just a sapling. Maybe you're a mature tree that has fruit. And you know what? A pear tree doesn't eat pears. The fruit that we develop is what we give to others. And that's why I do these videos, because I have found the only way I can actually live in freedom and liberty with choice is to allow God to lead me and to remove everything from me that stands in the way of my usefulness to Him and to my fellows, which is me, my flesh, my brain, my ego, my id, and my fear, all of which are there for a purpose, but they are not the spiritual me that is the observer outside of it, that likes things and doesn't like things and struggles with change until I eventually surrendered to all that stuff that kicked my butt and went, God, I need your help. And at my worst, and at the time I was the most despicable human being you could imagine, pretty much at any given time, would have disgusted a lot of you. That's when God answered my prayer. I didn't have to be perfect. I was actually the worst I ever was. And God answered my prayer and woke me up and allowed me to see that I was running on self-will, self-reliant, self-centered, selfish, frightened, trying to control everything and everyone around me so that I put off a perception that I was okay when I wasn't. Everything about me was fake. And God allowed me to see that. And through prayer and meditation, God gives me the option to be real, to go to Him honestly with the truth, no matter what it is. That's why God is there for us, is to help us with every battle we have, every fight we have before us, every struggle we have. He doesn't say He'll take away the struggles and the fights and stuff. He says, I will be there and help you through it. Because life exists. This is where we are right now. We have to deal with this world, and we have to deal with things of this world, and we have to deal with ourselves. And God will be here and help us if we ask. Doesn't matter who we are, what our religion, what our custom, what our idea is, what our conception of God is. If we trust in that and ask God to reveal Himself to us, and we go to God honestly, God will give us the answers. Because He does for everyone, regardless of earthly qualification. That has been, I cannot live without prayer. I will return to be the wretched, selfish, rotten, self-centered, frightened, self-seeking person that I used to be without awakening my spirit. And the only thing that gives growth to my spirit is an ongoing conscious relationship with God. And the more I do it, the more I want to do it. And the more I agree with the man that I am becoming, especially compared to the man that I was. All right. I love you guys. Thank you so much for allowing me to share. We'll talk again soon.